Taylor Shellfish is a family business. They started growing shellfish in Washington State in 1890. And today they're the largest producer of farm shellfish in the country. We go clams, oysters, mussels, gooey duck. Well, not in the traditional way that a lot of people think. You know, most people when they talk about climate change think about sea level rise and storms and water temperature, and those things are important to us and they are having an effect on our industry. But in the Pacific Northwest, it's been in an entirely different way. It's caused by the same problem, carbon pollution, but what's happening is ocean acidification. So as that carbon is absorbed by the ocean, it changes the seawater chemistry, and most importantly for us, it reduces the availability of carbonate ions, which are the building blocks of the shells of the animals that we farm. So it's had a big impact on our ability in particular to produce baby oysters for our farms. We're the first industry in the world probably to be affected by ocean acidification and actually know it. And it's important to understand that there's so many other calcifiers out there that don't have spokesmen like oysters, you know, that people don't necessarily like to eat directly, but the organisms are really important in the food chain for other things that we like to eat. You know, people need to get it, that this is a big deal, and that the seawater chemistry is going to change in dramatic ways in our lifetimes, and we're going to watch, you know, all the organisms shift in the ocean in ways that we can't fully understand. And it's really an issue that's important that we need to wrap our arms around. Yeah, so there's been, you know, a lot of response because this is a really important industry in the Pacific Northwest. Washington State leads the country in farm shellfish production. And in a few of our counties, shellfish aquaculture is the #1 employer. It's the primary economic driver. So this is a big deal, and it's gotten the attention of our governor and a number of policymakers. And so it's been a good response. Governor Gregoire, she formed an ocean acidification blue ribbon panel, came up with 42 recommendations on what the state could do in response to ocean acidification. And she memorialized that in an executive order and then incorporated $3.2 million in her parting budget as she left office. And now our new governor has embraced it as well. Governor Inslee is probably one of the greenest governors in the state, I think, and climate, carbon emissions, ocean acidification are front burner issues for him. So the policy response has been outstanding. We've got a new ocean acidification center at the University of Washington. It's helping do research on the effects our industry's seeing, as well as trying to learn about impacts to other important marine organisms in Washington State. So basically, potentially any calcifiers are affected similar to the way oysters have been. And a third of the organisms in Puget Sound in Washington State are calcifiers. So there's a big concern over what the impacts are beyond oysters. You know, we're the first industry to be impacted and really know it, but the presumption is all these other calcifiers that we may not eat directly are important food for things that we do like to eat from the oceans. So how's it going to affect the food chain and all these other organisms is top of mind for a lot of policymakers, and why these resources are being invested. You know, I think it's interesting that you asked that question. You know, in Washington State here just last week, I participated in a press conference with a group of businesses, REI, Microsoft, Starbucks, some familiar names to people, Virginia Mason, one of our big hospitals there in Seattle, signing a business climate declaration, which basically challenges policymakers, saying, this issue is real. We need you to step up and adopt policies to address carbon pollution, and it's an opportunity. And you know, they're trying to present this whole thing as a business opportunity. It's certainly been one that we've recognized as a company. You know, being impacted through ocean acidification, we start to look at our own carbon footprint and think we need to be walking the talk. And so you start to look at it, and there's so many things that you can do as a company that reduce your carbon footprint but make sense to your bottom line, that make you a more profitable business. And that's what this business climate declaration is about, is we can make a difference as businesses. Individually, we can make differences through our own behavior in our companies and improve our profitability while we do it. So they're trying to present this whole thing as an opportunity, which it really is. 10 years ago, I had no idea that I'd be traveling around the world speaking about ocean acidification. And you know, I'm a shellfish farmer. And that's how I started in this industry 30 years ago, and I continue to have a shellfish farm of my own that I do on the weekends and on my vacation time from Taylor's. So it's my therapy to how I keep my sanity for all the policy work. But you know, it's important. We've recognized, you know, first and foremost, our industry and our company is focused on adaptation and trying to figure out how to survive what we're experiencing from ocean acidification. So that's where most of our resources are going, into our scientists and collaborating with other scientists. But we've recognized beyond that we have a moral obligation to other generations, future generations, to speak up about our experience and let that try to be a driver for changing policy on both a national and international level.